Hello, everyone. I have the wonderful Lauren Swenson with me today because we're going to address a lot more questions. We put out the feelers as to what questions they had, and they have a lot of them.
Wow.
And so we're going to jump into and see how many we can get through in the next little bit, at least on this call.
Okay.
Good.
Sounds good.
Let's jump into probably one of the most hot topics regarding the scanner in and of itself, and that's inner voice.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's, this first question. Has anyone had an experience with physical detox systems with inner voice? And it goes on to explain some rationale behind this question. I've heard all kinds of things resulting from the use of it, but this is the first time that someone has reported flu-like symptoms. I'd like to know how common this is. Have you ever heard anything like that?
Okay, and just like when you think you've heard it all, you hear something.
Yeah,
I've never heard this one before,
true.
But it makes sense. It does make sense. Your inner voice is tied to your emotions, and we know that our emotions are tied to our physical.
Yeah.
So it isn't a stretch to say, yeah, you've got some emotions brewing that maybe are causing that lower gut feel, or that
Right.
cold, fluey. Our emotions are so powerful and so key to how we live, how we feel, how we function, how we think. So I haven't heard that one specifically before.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard lots of others where people will cry, people will get really quiet, they'll get really happy, but I've not heard the flu type symptom before, a Hertzheimer reaction.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's out of way.
When with that, like when you've experienced people crying or getting emotional with inner voice in and of itself, is that usually just part of that unfolding, that drawing out
Oh yeah.
of emotions? And that's my own question. That's not her question.
But it ties to it, which
Yeah.
is good. You know, we started the whole mobile scanner with inner voice.
Yeah.
The whole purpose was because it is such a powerful module. Our emotions are so important. In fact, I've said before, and I know you have as well, if you only have time to do one scan a day, make it inner voice.
Make it inner voice. Absolutely.
Make it inner voice. Get those. And just like we tell you when you're doing your scans, you've got to optimize. When you're doing inner voice, you've got to listen to those tones.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and it really makes sense because if you, just take the scenario, if I was sitting in a depressed state for a long period of time, if I was frowning, if I was down, if my whole demeanor was depressed, and then all of a sudden there was a cause for me to be different, I'd have to unload all of that. Mm-hmm. I'd have to get that out of me. And so it makes sense that there could be even feelings change, not just emotional feelings, but also
there can be a physical response,
physical
for sure.
responses to those. Okay, that was long enough for me to add 3 or 4 more questions to that question. Please explain why inner voice chooses a frequency that's already high to support a high frequency and why it would be beneficial. It would seem they're canceling each other out or entrenching those high frequencies. CC and F sharp in the image, so they send an image obviously with this.
Maybe we can have an image put up of a scan. When you're looking at those, and I'm pretty sure what they're referring to here is they're looking at the bars. You remember your graph shows 12 notes.
Yes.
And those bars are going up, and some are really low and some are really high. I think what they're referring to here is, okay, so the frequency that was high was given a balancing that was also high.
Uh-huh.
That's really a little bit confusing because the highness that you see on your chart, that's volume. That's the volume. It's not necessarily that it's high out of range or low out of range. It's the volume. Some of those frequencies when you're speaking, some of those notes, depending on your emotions, the volume of those is going to be low. Even though your voice here you feel like is pretty consistent. Yeah. Some of those frequencies, depending on your emotions, will have a higher volume or a lower volume. Has nothing to do with one canceling the other one out. That's not how inner voice works. Yeah. So your charts, when you look at that graph, what's high, this means those were a higher volume. It's just a volume indicator, not a higher or low out of range.
That helps, and that makes sense because just another part of inner voice in and of itself is you're not just looking at the bar graph. You're looking at the numbers across the top of the bar graph to look at what you're suppressing, what you're compensating for.
That's right. And the thing is, you're only seeing on that graph 12 notes.
Yes.
We're looking at almost 2,000.
Frequencies.
Yeah.
Yes.
we can't put all 2,000 of them up in there and have it make sense. So we show you the primaries, the 12. So yeah, those high bars just means the volume of that when you were speaking was higher.
Okay, good. Here's a good question. This is a short one. When will the new inner voice tones be coming out?
Do you have your ticket for Day of Discovery in March? Is
that
a good tease?
Good plug. I like the plug. Tickets are on sale.
Yeah.
Feel free to get your March Day of Discovery ticket for 2023. We're obviously going to go into that.
Big changes in the inner voice there.
Yeah. Okay. We're all looking forward to that. Okay, let's jump into some more. Outside of inner voice, is there a way to design a feature in the Solix AO Scan app to allow a person to schedule a group of CEFI lists to be played over a specific period of time or length of hours?
The answer to that is yes. And the second answer to that is Day of Discovery.
Okay.
There's a lot that will happen this year. A lot will start at Day of Discovery. Mm-hmm. But there will be more things added to inner voice over the ensuing months. But a big chunk will happen at Day of Discovery. Yeah. But that is one of the things we're working on. Playlists will be expanded. And to be able to hit multiple people at the same time, which is something you can't do right now.
Yeah, so that's
some big features coming. You want to definitely tune into Day of Discovery.
So the answer to that question, is there a way? Yes, there's a way, and we're working on that way right now. So wonderful. Should we look for patterns when doing scans for food sensitivities? I have things show up a lot more than others. They don't show up all the time, but a decent amount of the time they show up.
Okay, so we've answered this question in the past. I'll just rephrase it again. Patterns is the key. Remember, this is education, not diagnostic.
Yeah.
You're looking for a pattern of things to happen. We talked about it before when you're eating something, and I love this. It was a QLA that said, hey, I love this feature because I can sit down when I go to the restaurant and do a quick food sensitivity scan
before you eat.
30 seconds, 40 seconds, and they know what not to order.
Yes, that's right. That's
and
good.
So, same thing with this here is look for those patterns. And if your body's telling you something, listen and obey.
Yeah.
Follow that information, because if it's coming up and it's saying, I shouldn't have a potato, or a potato came up as a high sensitivity. Doesn't mean you're allergic to potatoes. It just means today's probably, or right now is not the best time for your body to have to break down those starches.
Because we're not looking at that frequency. We're looking at your body's frequency in connection with that frequency.
What does that frequency do to this?
Yes. Perfect. And I love that you brought up, it's not, we deal with this often. Mm-hmm. It's not an allergy. It's not indicative of an allergy.
Not at all.
All it is a frequency. And so you're paying attention to that frequency.
Don't confuse the food sensitivities and the allergy test. That is not what this was designed for. It was designed to help you better understand the things that you should and should not eat at a certain given time. That's all.
Okay, so I'm going to get Lauren right here. When it says squash, does it mean winter squash, summer squash, or all squash?
Okay, so that's good, and it's all squash. Okay. Now there will come a time maybe that we'll break that down into the individual squashes, and you'll see if you go to nuts, it breaks down a whole bunch of nuts, and grains, a whole bunch of grains. Whereas a year ago, we didn't have that. We had like 4 or 5 grains and a few vegetables. So as we develop those frequencies and we're comfortable with those frequencies, they'll be added. So your scanner's always, like we've said before, it's a living, breathing software. It is going to continue to grow as we can develop it.
Wonderful. Okay. What is the best way to aggregate scans to decide which areas need the most attention?
Okay, so that question, we're working on ways to where you can archive on your device files.
Okay.
Right now, the only way you can do that is to email those files and to review those files, in your email.
We know of some, though, QLAs that actually take the file, they put it into an Excel spreadsheet, and they look at them over long periods of time because they're looking to connect the dots, right?
Exactly. And that is coming. That will be built in, according to our engineers. That is something that we can do. Maybe this year that will be implemented. But to where we can do that without having to store that data in the cloud.
Right.
Because we won't ever do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a decent lift to put that sort of long-term range data set together to find commonalities. But I mean, at least the approach is correct, right? What you're looking for is what Deb Bruce always says, and what's in the different phases is you're looking to see how it's not just this area of the body that's out of range.
Exactly.
You want to go up the chain, down the chain, sideways on the chain as far as to figure out what else is influencing or could be influencing.
That's
that,
right.
Right?
Right.
All right. This is a really important question, I think, because it comes with a laughing, crying face. Who is your favorite QLA?
Well, if we told you, we'd have to get rid of you, and I have to get a new one, so I can't do that.
It's that rule. That's that CIA rule. You have to kill them if you
we
told
can't
them.
do that.
Spy rules.
So we love you all.
We don't have favorites. Yes, we do, but we don't.
Yeah. So
I'm everyone's favorite. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters to Kai. Anyway.
That's right. It's just all my little world.
That's right.
Okay, serious question that goes with that. And they do say that they're kidding, by the way, this cheeky person, whoever it is. How do you explain the, quote, science behind the technology?
How much time do we have?
Oh, well, how do you explain quantum physics in the next 30 seconds?
Okay, so the science behind the scanner is really simple, but boy, we could spend a lot of time discussing it. We are energy beings, and everything in this planet is energy. The rock, the asphalt, it all has a vibration.
This couch,
everything.
Everything is.
So all we're doing is measuring the frequency of, in this case, our bodies, or something specific in our body, or a food that we're going to put into our body, and comparing that as with those frequencies come together. Is it beneficial? Is it not beneficial? The science to this goes all the way back in modern days to Tesla and Einstein, and they worked with these things. In fact, I can't remember which one it was, said that the future of medicine is frequency. Unfortunately, the pharmaceutical industry never got the memo, so we went the other direction. But everything is frequency. The Russians were the first ones that I'm aware of to actually put it in and implement it into something that could be quantified, and that was with their space station, their International Space Station in the late 80s, early 90s, where they were able to kind of monitor the health condition of their cosmonauts up at the space station. Yeah. Okay, that's the first time I ever saw this type of thing being put into something that was quantifiable. Now, we've heard of muscle testing, and we've heard of pendulums, and we've heard of all sorts of different energy types of therapies. This one here takes all the bias out. It takes out all that influence, and it's just this frequency and this frequency. If I put them together, what happens? That's all it is. Yeah. And that may not be the answer that you're looking for, but that's the best way we can explain it in a real simple.
Speaking of science, I remember as probably 6th, 7th, 8th grade, something like that. I remember being in a science class where the teacher was patting the table and was trying to teach how this is moving. This is not a table in and of itself. We call it a table, but it's made up of molecules attached together that are moving at such a rate that they create this sort of stability. Mm-hmm. I could not grasp what he was talking about. I'm like, no, that's a table and it's hard and it's just a table. It's all it is. It's not moving. I see it. It's sitting still. But the reality is when you could take a super high powerful microscope, put it on that table, and you'd be able to see the movement.
That's right.
And that in and of itself becomes the essence of everything is energy. Everything is moving all the time.
Always.
Constantly. In and out of form. In and out of its current form.
That's right.
No, I love that. Well, I'm with you.
Good.
Yeah.
So two of us are.
We got two. No, it's fascinating science, but those of us that don't live in the realm of the quantum physics, we go through our own experiences to validate that everything is energy. Right.
Well,
and everything has influence.
Let's try and tie it back to the pharmaceutical. We'll take a pill.
Yeah.
We'll take a synthetic pill. We'll put it in, and our headache will go away, or our indigestion will settle down, or our blood pressure will settle. Yeah. Right? Can you explain how that's happening? I can, because it's a chemistry.
Yes.
And chemistry goes in and hits the the liver, the pancreas.
It does.
And it creates a frequency that helps soothe the frequency that's out of range.
Yes.
Okay, so we're bypassing the chemistry by doing this. Now, that doesn't mean you throw away your medicine, just do frequencies. And there are times when those medicines are absolutely critical to our well-being.
Yeah.
But that's all we're doing without the chemistry is measuring frequencies and putting the right frequencies in.
And it's fascinating because, like, as I've done my own research, as we come up with Think and Pro and Prime and things like that have influence on the different systems, like for the brain, for example. Yes, it is a supplement that has ingredients that can pass the blood-brain barrier and then have influence upon the brain's chemistry. But what is the chemistry that's actually taking place between the cells in the brain? It is a synaptic change. The synaptic change actually is carried by what? Energy. That's right. Energy is what is the connection, the signaling. When we talk about signaling through the body, it ultimately, in the very end, is passed by way of energy from one cell to another.
That's right. And when there's a blockage there, it doesn't go.
Yeah.
So, no, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Great question, though.
Yeah, great question. This is a great one. What are your top 5 don'ts for using the scanner?
Okay, number 1, don't diagnose.
Yeah, that's critical.
Don't try to read things into your scanner that aren't there. Look at it, look at your patterns, learn from that, but don't try. If it comes up and says, oh, there's a cancer or in your database, so there's a cancer or there's a disease, it doesn't necessarily mean you have those things going on. Those are causes that could happen if changes aren't made. You know, cancer, before it manifests into the ugly disease that we're familiar with, started years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and how do we keep those things in check? And that is by paying attention to what we eat, drinking, our sleeping, our mental attitude. So don't diagnose with it and don't read into something that's not there.
Yeah, the scanner isn't treating, curing, fixing. No. And when we try to explain, we repeatedly say that we're talking about frequencies here. But I would caution us to sometimes say, we're not talking about just frequencies. Because frequencies actually are super powerful, right? You can start a life, you can take away a life with frequency. Mm-hmm. You know, it's super powerful. So the just in that is not to discount, but what it is understanding what it means, right? Don't read into the scanner. It doesn't mean you have this or you're here, but what it is, it's representative of a frequency within the body, right?
That's right.
Okay.
So that's 2 of the don'ts.
That's 2.
2 of the don'ts. Don't forget to scan.
Well, good one. I love that one.
That's really important. And I'm guilty of that from time to time. You get so busy and you forget, and you can't not forget. So that's 3. 4, what would be the 4th one? All right. Don't scan too often.
Oh yeah, it's not a scan now and scan in 20 minutes and scan in another 20 minutes. I mean, the one scan we've said you could and should if inner-voice multiple times throughout the day. You don't need it every second of the day.
But you don't need that on vitals. You don't need that on comprehensive. Now, other parts of the scanner you can use all the time. Parts in the Cephi.
Yeah.
You know, your playlists and your homeopathic and your homeoenergetics.
The imprinting efforts.
All that all the time. But we can do too much, and it confuses the body because every time you do a scan, you're interjecting to the body a series or a matrix of frequencies. Now, for a period of time, those frequencies are going to resonate in here until they either see what they were supposed to. For example, if I was to have you put your hand in a bucket of water and spin it all around, and you take your hand out, the water still spins for a while. Okay.
Yes.
And so when we do a scan and we do it too soon, it's now going to make an assessment based on what you had the frequencies before and the interjection of those other frequencies. And so you're going to get something that doesn't line up.
Is it I mean, as far as the philosophy of scanning and the regular, even Cephis, is we don't say to just scan either with your life, with your well-being. The idea of, and I think of body systems, and when we talk about recommendations or suggestions after a scan is done, is if I had challenges sleeping and I even ran a Cepheid for sleeping, it wouldn't do me any good that if at 11 or 11:30 at night to go get a high caffeinated beverage in conjunction with running my Cepheid for sleep.
Nope.
Right? We're supposed to add to the frequency the mechanisms of our day-to-day that help support that frequency as well, right?
That's right. You have to walk the walk.
Yeah.
If you want to go to sleep, like you said, you're not going to take something that's going to wake you up. So we follow through with what we want to achieve. What is that intention of what we're doing that scan or that playlist for?
Right.
Follow through with what that end goal is. I want to sleep.
Yeah.
I want to quiet my mind. I want to go to sleep.
We've given also just another parallel to that is you can't scan the nutrients of an apple into your supplement library and receive the nutrients. But what you can do is make the body's frequency state ready for that, right? And we've talked about Prime, right? Run Cellular Restore, and take your Prime in conjunction with that. Then you're matching the chemistry with the frequency, right?
Same thing. We've said it in the past too with imprints of energy and sleep. You would never put those two together.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
You're going to confuse
makes
the body
sense.
state. Right.
So we've got 4 don'ts.
Yeah, 4.
We have one fifth
more.
one.
Okay. Yeah, they asked
so
for
what's
5.
our 5th don't? What's our 5th don't? Don't forget to share.
Oh, good.
Don't forget to share this wonderful tool that you have with your family and your friends, because it's change.
And that's so important because it's not just share just to boost. It's you can do as many scans with as many people as you'd like in your scanner. There's no limitation. It's unlimited. Every month, that subscription is unlimited.
Use it as often
Do
as
it
you
as
can,
much as you can. Yeah.
without overdoing it to yourself on certain things.
But take care of your kids, take care of your pets, take care of your mom and dad, and as many people as you can.
That's right.
I love that. Well, that's enough.
Okay.
That's enough for today. We'll continue with more questions as we get along. Thanks
Thanks, everybody.